What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether that be NFL, NBA, NHL, or MLB, games, news, highlights, all that fun stuff. And Nick, in today's episode, obviously, for anyone that's been watching this whole week, we're kind of doing Western Conference and Eastern Conference standing predictions. So if you haven't already, make sure to check those first three videos out. But today we're going to finish off the East with the top 7 through 1 teams. Me and Nick, for the most part, have had our pretty much been in sync. There were some, probably in the East, our biggest disagreement has been on the Wizards. That might just be me. But, you never know what happens. But Nick, to start off 7 through 1, I'm going to go with 7 is obviously the last played team. And it was tough because Philly was in the spot last year. But obviously adding Paul George, maybe just staying healthy, might boost them up. And this may be, maybe seen as disrespectful, but I don't really take it as that. At my number 7 spot, I have the Eastern Conference runner-ups, Indiana Pacers. Indiana, even last year, was a 6 seed. But regular season-wise, their defense needs to improve for me to be like any higher on them when it comes to, sustainable success throughout the regular season, because we know what their offense is, but, their defense kind of can be Swiss cheese at a lot of points. And just kind of, I'm curious how many of their playoff runs like Andrew Nembhard can carry over into sustained regular season success next year. Obviously Nembhard's a dog, but, just kind of, it's just a bunch of, really solid players like Tyrese, Pascal, but they're just kind of lacking that kind of superstar to, carry them to like those, regular season muggy wins in January that may be physical, against a team that, you're better than, but you may struggle, and just kind of that superstar to will them. I think they're kind of missing that at points. So regular season wise, I think, when it comes to it, I just don't think they'll be, as sustainable as these top teams. And, I like them. They're definitely deep when you have, regular season Nembhard coming off the bench. You're adding Benedict Mathurin back, Jarius Walker, their first-round pick last year, didn't even play a whole lot. So I think they're deep, but I think regular season-wise, it's just going to be tough to win so many games with your defense still, not being even top 20 in the league.
Okay. I also have Indiana at 7. I was kind of just, scraping through everybody, kind of trying to figure out who I think Indiana's better than, and really, like you just mentioned, the lack of like a superstar. I know Tyrese is good. I know Pascal can, show signs of being really good, but just when you match them up against, these other 6 teams, it's tough to, say that they're overall a better team. Maybe offensively, like, they obviously have, a really high caliber offense, but you just said, their defense is so shaky, and we saw how they were in that Celtics series. At the end of every single game, they seem to give it away, find a new way to give away the game. So just with all that, I think it might roll over a little bit into next year, and maybe they're kind of struggling with putting games away that they should win. Maybe they should be, that 5 or 6 seed, and instead they give a few games away, and now they're in the play-in, and they still struggle with that. So overall, I just can't see them being better than these other 6 teams, which is why I have them at 7 as the first place.
I like that. So we're in sync with that one. Oh, sorry. Then my number 6 spot, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been top 4 the last 2 seasons, at number 4, I think exactly. But when I look at these other teams, I think they just got better. Cleveland, I'm happy that they extended Donovan Mitchell, you keep your superstar. But with that being said, they still have Darius Garland in that Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. And for me, there's just too many question marks with the offense to trust them enough to grind them through regular season wins. I think Donovan Mitchell is a dog, but Darius Garland is very up and down. And when he's down, he's down. And then Evan Mobley, if that jumper could ever come around, that'd be kind of nice. But he hasn't shown enough consistently, and just kind of the weird fit with him and Jared Allen with if he can't shoot, and obviously Jared Allen doesn't shoot 3-pointers. Their defenses will obviously keep them afloat to keep them around like that 48 wins plus near 50. But the just doesn't move it for me. And we saw when Darius Garland and Evan Mobley went down, were the hottest team in basketball for a stretch. But when they're all together, it's just kind of a weird fit that I don't know. I think Kenny Atkinson can do a better job, but at some point it just comes down to guys hitting shots like Evan Mobley consistently, Darius Garland, and will that be able to happen? I don't know. I think the defense gives this team a good floor when they're fully healthy, and if Evan Mobley can carry his playoffs with the Celtics, because I thought he performed pretty well with that shot, maybe then we can talk higher. But for the most part, I think these other teams got better. They kind of stayed the same pending a trade, which I thought they were going to make a move. So for now, I like Cleveland. I've been high on them the last 2 years, but unfortunately, I gotta believe it before I see it in the playoffs.
Okay. This spot was kind of tough for me, and I put in 2 teams on accident because you can't swap teams. So you're going to see my next 2 picks. But
all right, that's fine.
I have the Orlando Magic at 6 and Cleveland at 5. This one I was kind of going back and forth on which one I wanted to put where. I just trust the Donovan Mitchell factor, and I know Paolo Banchero can, he's very quickly becoming a star in this league. He's getting better every single year, it seems, so he could very quickly get up there and take over for that team. But I just feel like Donovan Mitchell, he gets on stretches where he looks like, a top 5 player, and he's dropping 40 points a game. And I really like the way they play their defense. Evan Mobley just got an absolute bag. Some people say it was a little bit of an overpay, but it's the NBA. It seems like everybody's getting overpaid now. So I like what Cleveland does. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little higher on you than them. The way they
even that it was only one spot.
Way they play the Celtics though, just from being a Celtics fan, they always are playing the Celtics tough, whether it's them beating the Celtics or it being a close game, overtime game. They always play tough down to the wire. And with the Celtics being the best team last year, it's, that I feel like that says something.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I think Orlando also gives the Celtics a lot of trouble as well.
No, they do. That's why they're so interchangeable for me, because they both play such tough basketball.
Yeah, I'll just get to mine. So we just basically had Cleveland and Orlando flipped. Mainly, we saw these 2 teams match up in a 7-game series, and went the distance. Donovan Mitchell, like you said, just kind of rose to the occasion. And if it was a playoff series, I might still pick Cleveland, but Orlando also went out this season, added some shooting, some defense, getting KCP in their biggest offseason acquisition. I think Orlando got better. And regular season wise, I still trust Banchero, who's super young, to take another leap. If Franz Wagner can be consistently with his shot, they re-signed Mo Wagner. This team is sneakily deep, and I think Orlando got better this offseason. And they were already basically a quarter away from going to a game 7 or going to the second round to face Boston. These 2 teams are kind of evenly matched, but I think Orlando got better. I think they have a higher ceiling with their youth just to become better, and adding a guy like KCP, a veteran that, can just hit some threes. Jalen Suggs, we saw him. He's getting better each and every year. He already has all defense. So I think Orlando can go band for band with Cleveland on defense now. I think in shooting, they need to get better. And you had a guy like KCP who can just knock down some shots. I think perfect fit. Obviously, they didn't get that huge superstar, but they don't really need to right off the bat right now. And I think they're kind of just building within. And I like Orlando regular season to just grind out more W's just with the depth they have right now. And I think even if but similar to Cleveland, the offense is always going to be kind of the issue. When Banchero led the team in points, assists, rebounds, kind of carrying that team. They need someone else, and I'm curious if a healthy Jonathan Isaac, help contribute to positive shooting for the team. Because his defense is amazing as well, but it'll be question marks with the shooting for Orlando. That kind of gives me the same problem, but they're going to be around the same ballpark. I just like Orlando's youth to maybe grind out a couple more dubs in the regular season.
Yep, you make good points there. Do you want me to go to 4, or because I know
you go to 4.
Okay, so my number 4 team, who I'm not going to lie to you, I wanted to put them lower, but just with the I'll say in air quotes, weakness of the East and just their superstar power, you can't put them below 4. I have the Philadelphia 76ers. When you have healthy Embiid, healthy Paul George, healthy Tyrese Maxey, that's a top 4 team in the East at least. Like that could be a top 2 team if everybody's going good. But I have them at 4 just because, injuries are a factor. And like I've mentioned many times on this podcast, I'm not the biggest Paul George fan. I think he can be very streaky at times where he's either a bricklayer or he can't miss. And so if one of those two comes into play, if that comes into play where he has a bad week or 2-week stretch, that could be the difference in, the 2 or 3 seed or being the 4 seed. But I think this is their floor with everybody on the court. I think their floor is the 4 seed. Injuries is a whole nother story. Like we saw last year when Embiid went down, they were a play-in team. I don't think they're going to be a play-in team this year if Embiid's healthy.
Yeah. So great minds think alike. A big part of, I think Philly will obviously be better, just Embiid. But I think he'll honestly take a step back in the regular season just because I don't think he needs to be going and playing through, to try and get that MVP. I think he'll kind of take it a little bit easier, miss some more games. Paul George, we know, isn't going to play, 75 plus. So I think the depth is a little question mark, but when all 3 guys are on the floor, they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to have a 700 plus winning percentage. But it may take some time still to gel. And obviously Tyrese Maxey's a dog. And I still like this team. Kelly Oubre is there for depth. They're going to be competitive. They're going to, be a top 4 seed. They're going to have home court if, pending no big injuries. They're going to have home court in the first round. Joel Embiid's a dog. Even though I don't like the way he plays, he's still going to get his. Paul George, solid wing defender still, and will obviously knock down his shots and can take over some games. And Tyrese Maxey, just the step he took last year was unreal. Some of that playoff series he had against the Knicks was amazing. And so I really like Tyrese Maxey a lot. I think this team will obviously be a top 4 team. I think they're going to, bounce back after that Embiid injury and, at least make it back to, being among the East's best regular season teams.
Yeah, trust me. I don't like the way Embiid plays either. I
think it's getting exposed in the Olympics partially. He's not getting those calls, and I wish honestly we took the Olympic rules because come on, you when you're just not even trying to shoot and you're just going up and flailing your arms, it's not fun. It's I don't know, it's just stupid. It's I don't really give a shit if you score 2 from the free throw line, unless you haven't beat a fantasy or a 76ers fan. But and we kind of see that partially why the playoff calls are different from regular season calls, and I think that's definitely a reason why we've seen him fade out most years in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Nick, we'll move to your top 3 team. Who will be at your 3rd seed?
All right. I have a feeling we're going to have the same top 3, same top 4, really. But at number 3, I got the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're going to have a bounce back year. Giannis, we've talked about it many, many times. When he's healthy and he's going, and really even last year, it kind of went under the radar just because Milwaukee seemed like a disappointment, and he got hurt at the end of last year, which took him and Dame out of the playoffs. So it kind of went unnoticed that he had an incredible year yet again. I think that he's going to lead them right back to it. I think him and Dame are going to gel a little bit more going into year 2. Obviously, year 1, when you just throw 2 superstars together, it might take a little longer to gel because they're both guys who have been used to, being the guy wherever they were. And now all of a sudden they got to learn to play off of each other. I think they did that pretty solidly, but it could have definitely been better. But if both of those guys stay healthy, which I'm hoping they do, I think they're easily a top 3 seed. I could have put them at 2, or even 1 if they go crazy enough. But I've got 1 saved for somebody else. But I still think they're a top 3 team when Giannis is going.
Yeah, I think they were the 3 seed last year. I think this is going to be a much more comfortable 3 seed. I think 50 plus wins. I was critical of their offseason earlier on, but just picking up some of the guys they did at the end, Gary Trent Jr., great 3-point shooter on a vet minimum deal. I love some of those smaller moves they made. I just think Damian Lillard, even though he's a year older, I think will just be much more comfortable this time around in a second go around. Doc Rivers full off season, even though I don't think he's the best coach, I think he gets to install what he wants to do, because no matter for anyone, it is a challenge to coach midseason, even though, he had the excuse bus lined up. It is a challenge, and I think he'll be better in this go around. I think Giannis, we know what he is, a top 3 player in this world. Bobby Portis Jr. still coming off the bench, being one of the best shooters. Despite being really tall, he's amazing. I love his game and just the passion he plays with. And, you still have guys like Pat Connaughton that can knock down some jumpers. And, Brook Lopez, despite his defense taking a huge step back, I think, he can be, still serviceable on offense, stretch the floor. And obviously, I think their defense just needs to get better on the perimeter. And you still have Dame, who still may be a weak link. But if you can just get serviceable guys like Gary Trent Jr. and not traffic cones like Malik Beasley, I think this team will just be better. I think the offense will gel a lot more. Damian Lillard will have a bounce back season, maybe efficiency-wise. Points per game were still there around like 25. But, efficiency-wise, just be more consistent. Giannis, we know what he will be if he's healthy. And I still think this team will be top 3. Even though they're one of the older squads. Chris Middleton, when he's shown the playoffs, when he's healthy, he's a dog, and he can, hit some of the toughest shots in the league. So if he could play 60 games, that'd be amazing just to see him out there and, get the job done. I still like this team, and, I got to give them the respect because they still have a championship with Giannis and, this core. So I like them still. But that'll bring us, Nick, to our 2-1. So obviously you can put your 1 up as well, because we know who it will be.
All right. Well, you can see it right there. I got the New York Knicks at 2, Boston Celtics at 1. Call me a homer, but I still think, most, basketball fans will tell you the same thing. But I think New York is easily the biggest threat to the Celtics. They play just such gritty, tough basketball. And, Jalen Brunson has emerged as an absolute stud for the Knicks. And they got Mikal Bridges, so the Nova boys are back together. So their chemistry is only going to grow. They lost Hartenstein, but I think they're going to be okay, despite losing him. That team is scary, man. The Knicks could challenge for the 1 seed, really. Like if the Celtics go through, a 2 or 3 week slump where they're playing 500 basketball or below 500 basketball, maybe Tatum can't make his shots or something. Somebody goes down with like a sore knee or something. I don't know. Knicks could jump you and take that 1 seed. So I think they're going to be right on the Celtics' tail in the East. It's definitely not going to be a breeze for the Celtics, but the reason I have them at 1 is obviously they were the best team in the league last year, won the championship, but also they're bringing back everybody. And I know you're not the biggest fan of that. Like if you run it back, you're not really getting much better. But I think
I'm not a big fan of a team that doesn't win the chip, is close but don't make any moves and just kind of run back. But the Celtics comfortably won the chip. So I don't really. When you're the champs and run it back, that's fine for the most part, especially the way they dominate.
Yeah, and with who they're running it back with, it's not like they're running it back with all 35-plus-year-olds. Like they're bringing back a 26-year-old Jason Tatum, 27-year-old Jaylen Brown. Derek White, I think, is 28 or 29. Like they've got a bunch of young guys. The oldest guy is still Al Horford, but he's going to be coming off your bench.
Yeah.
Porzingis is kind of a worry because his injury. I think he's getting surgery or got surgery like for the finals. I don't know exactly like his timetable or what he's going to look like. But Porzingis is, we knew as soon as we traded for him, he was going to be kind of a injury bug to worry about. But he still was a major contributor. He pretty much won the Celtics game 1 in the finals. But I still think, until they're knocked down, I got to put them on top. And with this roster that they have, it's still, in my opinion, a top 3 roster in the NBA. Yeah. So call me a homer.
I'll say that.
But
I'll say this. Don't get it. Mm-hmm. Don't get it twisted. Boston's still the best team, but for me, this is a regular season grind. And I honestly think the Celtics are just going to be in a little bit of coast mode, not necessarily a slump. But I just think New York will want it more this year. I think they'll want to come out. I think they're pissed off from the Indiana series. And I think New York and Boston, I have the similar concerns about when Mitchell Robinson's playing. He's a really good shot blocker, rebounder, and can kind of get boards. Porzingis obviously good at different things like shooting and stuff. But once they go down, New York is going to be relying on some different guys. Boston's going to be relying on Al Horford, age 40, who's still good. But, I mean, you're relying on a guy that's 40 years old. So the front court depth is going to be a huge question mark. But with that being said, I mean, they're both really good. I think in a series, I'd still pick Boston in 6 just because I think that's a terrible matchup for Jalen Brunson. But New York, I think throughout the regular season, they have their superstar that can get buckets. You add Mikal, OG, that if they're healthy, that's just going to be a pest to deal with on a Wednesday night where maybe even Jason Tatum isn't the most locked in, or just something happens. I think Boston, they're going to win 56 games. I think they're going to take a step back from that 54 or 64, but they're still going to be really good. I just think New York is going to win. It wouldn't surprise me if everyone's healthy, close to 60, just because we know what Tom Thibodeau does also. And I think it's going to be a bad thing come playoff time, but he plays his starters an absurd amount of time just to, beat some of these teams, to beat the Charlotte Hornets. They're going to go out there and play Jalen Brunson 40 minutes to get that 10-point dub. And that's going to eventually wear and tear on you. But I do love the Mikal Bridges signing. Great 3. I think he's going to be that great 3-and-D player. And I mostly just made the Knicks just to mix it up so we didn't have anything. But, I really do think New York could honestly get the 1 seed. I think, by a game or so, they're just going to squeeze by. And, Boston, when you win the championship that easily, I think they're going to coast alone and just get ready for the playoffs. They might, obviously still win home court, but, I think they're going to, they really pushed it last year and, they crushed everyone. I think, to go up that mountain again, I think they're going to, take their foot off the gas a little come regular season time. And I think New York, Tom Thibodeau's always foot on the gas, and come playoff time, it bites them with injuries that, may come up again. And even then, if it was Boston going to New York, I'd still pick Boston in 6 games. But, I still think just regular season wise, I think New York's built for it. And adding a guy like Mikal that, will play that hard fought defense on those Wednesday, January nights and help, steal some dubs. I think they will miss Hartenstein, but Mitchell Robinson, when he's healthy, is good. But yeah, I think overall it will be fun. And just, I like the guys like Josh Hart. DiVincenzo can give you 30 any night. He's like a microwave scorer. But overall, I think it'll be a lot closer of a battle. But it also would surprise me if Boston won the 1 seed by 7+ regular season games again. Or they were 14 last year, which was absurd. But, we'll see come around this time. I think they'll still be.
It could be like a Thunder last year where they're just pushing so hard for that 1 seed that it just winds up fizzing them out. So I
just don't. Yeah, I don't think Boston will care about that. If New York's really with them up until the final game, and they control their own destiny, I think Boston will, be fine. They'll be fine going to New York because they proven they were good on the road. They were good at home. They can kind of win anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I will say though, if the Celtics do have to go on the road, that's probably the toughest place to win in the East is in New York. But I still, as a Celtics fan, and
maybe,
just
but
watching that team last year, I trust them on the road.
Indiana, Game 7, they won it there. Philadelphia stole Game 5 there, and almost Game 2 if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. So I think, we'll see. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be really close, but I think New York will just be such a grind regular season that it's just going to be tough. And I still love their depth. I think Josh Hart will be coming off the bench, who was a really solid starter for them. And, I think it'll be very fun to see what they kind of cook up as we approach, the season. And Deuce McBride, his playoff run was nice. But yeah, Boston's still the best team.
I agree. That's simply put.
Yeah. So with that being said, though, that will wrap up our East and West standing predictions. So let us know in the comments what you guys agree, disagree with. Pretty much we were in sync, I think, all the way through. I think our biggest difference was the Wizards overall throughout the whole thing. So that's kind of funny. But with that being said, we're always curious to get your guys' take. Overall, though, pretty much a consensus on both of our East and West. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.